Hey everybody, welcome back to An Actor Shares. I'm Jorge Chapa, Jorge or George, whatever's easier for you. And I'm doing another interview, and I'm doing my interview with my buddy Chuy. And you'll notice that this is kind of a nice setup compared to all my other videos, which is usually done on an iPhone. So we're going to go ahead and start off, and hope you enjoy. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, Chuy.
Yes.
How did we meet?
We met in college. You were probably doing some sort of play.
Oh, you're correct.
And I was probably on like tech run for the play because I would always just do 2 plays and get rid of all my hours during tech run because I didn't want to help any other students during their projects.
Yeah. The play was of Mice and Men.
Yes, it was.
And it was a life-changing experience for me. But one of the things I remember most from this play, aside from the acting and the camaraderie, is the pranks that were done on the last show. Can you elaborate on what was happening on these pranks?
Yeah, so the last show was happening, and someone on the crew decided to say, let's play some pranks on the actors. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of things that were done. They put black paint on this one guy's gun, his prop. So when he used it, he just had a bunch of black paint.
Classic.
They put a tampon with red paint in the cup of one of the female actresses, and then for you guys, they put Skittles in the beans that you guys ate.
Yes.
And then my favorite one is one of the actors had a little notebook.
Yes.
And they had to. They always opened it to the same page.
Yes.
So one of the guys on the prop crew drew a dick, and then just put quotes like the dick was talking and said "love me."
Yeah, they did. So, yeah, and that actually worked out for me because in that scene when he opens it up, I laugh, and he asks like, "Why is he laughing?" And well. I had some motivation there for that.
A play is nothing without its crew.
Exactly. And it was fun. And I did remember the Skittles, and I'll never let you forget about it. Yeah. And that was really fun. But that was, 10 years ago almost? That was in 2009.
Oh, I don't remember. Yeah, college was just a...
So what are we doing now? You're in New York City.
Yes.
And what do you do?
I'm currently a freelance cinematographer and photographer. So... I take gigs, I shoot, I edit video, and I take portraits mostly.
Which are phenomenal portraits.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and link his stuff, his Instagram down below, and his website so you can check out those portraits. Probably one of the best portrait photographers in New York City.
I don't know about that.
No. I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of portrait photographers and like the headshot photographers. They try to push on us in the industry. Your headshots are amazing. I'm not saying that just because you're my friend, but because they're great. And I just want to know, like, how did you get into portrait photography?
Right. So I had been wanting to kind of learn it. So I was working at this camera store called Adorama in New York City. And I was in charge of just kind of like the tech of the events. So whether they needed, audio, visual, computers, all that kind of stuff. So I got to sit through a lot of classes, a lot of photography classes mostly. So I was slowly picking up on certain techniques, especially for lighting and portraits and stuff like that. So I said, hey, let me try it. And so I decided to buy a light, a flash. And I had just worked a gig in Colorado with this guy, following him around. And it was a really cool gig that paid me quite a good amount of money.
$1 million.
So, yeah, sure.
Don't be shy.
And so I picked up a light, and this was April 2 years ago, 2016. And I just started, experimenting. A lot of my friends like you, Christian, Ben and Jackie, they're all actors who need headshots. So I said, hey, let me start doing portraits. Let me start taking headshots, seeing if I can make this into a small business, something I do outside of my video work. And I've been doing it, for the last 2 years.
Yeah. And what do you see yourself doing with these portraits, or like go in that aspect of like being a portrait photographer? Do you want to continue doing this, or what do you want to do? Is it more of a hobby? Or you want to approach it as a business, or?
I mean, I definitely want to approach it as a business. I've been, hired to do, portrait headshots. To do, actor headshots and stuff like that. I've also been hired just to do photography for random like corporate clients and stuff like that. So essentially, I guess I felt more comfortable now calling myself a photographer. I think more so the last 6 months. Because I've been hired to get flown out to, other states, Chicago, stuff like that, work for a day just for my photography, not necessarily for my video. Sometimes it's bundled, it's included, but I've definitely been doing a lot more photography the last couple of months and getting hired for it. So definitely want to turn it into a business, want to do it more often. And I definitely, an actor headshot, something that helps someone, out, maybe in getting a gig or doing something like that. So I definitely want to keep doing those because there is some sort of, well, hopefully there's a positive outcome to me taking the portrait.
No, there definitely is a positive outcome for your portraits because I've actually gotten a lot of compliments from your portraits that you've taken of me, and I've actually booked work because of them. I just want everybody to know that I'm not saying it's just because he's my friend. Once again, like his portraits are really good. You got to check them out. But aside from portrait photography, you came up here to do cinematography.
Yeah.
And can you explain some of the work that you've been able to do with that? Because you traveled a lot for that as well, right?
Right, yeah. So last year I was working with this watch company, and we were in charge of producing content. So that included photos as well as some, video content. I want to say most of my paid work, as far as cinematography-wide, is short form doc work. So we'll do, 2-3 minute, maybe up to 6 minute documentaries. And last year I was able to travel a lot in the U.S. We went to California, New Mexico. We shot an Olympic archer.
Yeah.
Got to know some really cool people, do some really cool work. And since I really do like doing short form doc work, it was just kind of a dream to just be able to do that and get paid to do it. As well as some short narrative stuff. But usually most of that stuff, at least where I'm at right now, it doesn't necessarily pay. So it's more of a passion thing.
Okay. So you want to do documentary work?
Yeah, I really do enjoy it.
And what capacity are you wanting to do documentary work? Are you wanting to do a feature documentary, or what do you want to pursue with your documentary?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm really kind of digging kind of like the short form, like almost branded doc work, where companies will pay to tell a story that either lines up with their values or kind of our values as well. But definitely not quite too sure on the long form documentary, just because it's a huge amount of work that kind of sometimes when I think about it, I don't know. Since I'm always all over the place, I do enjoy like one day taking photos, the next day doing video, and then the next day sitting in my room just editing. And I feel like the current workload I have by doing short form doc or just doing portraits lets me wear different hats on different days. Whereas I think if I was doing a full on feature doc, it would just engulf my entire life.
Yeah. No,
so,
a lot of times those documentaries, depending on the documentary, like you have to kind of keep track of those people for like sometimes a year, 2 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like I was watching that, was it Making a Murderer? And they were like following that, and they're living in Wisconsin this whole time. But I can see how that could take up your time. How did you get into cinematography?
That's actually probably
like the roots of where it started, like where Chuy said, you know what, I like messing with cameras, and maybe I want to pursue this.
Yeah, that was probably, I think I was in 8th or 7th grade. My brother, who's in the room right now, actually was actually with me. We were watching a lot of Jackass at the time on MTV. And so me and my friends, we had this VHS camcorder that my parents had. It was a RCV, I think, I can't even remember the brand name. You can say it. RCA, which is a popular brand, and I totally forgot it. Anyways,
we're not sponsored.
We're not sponsored by anybody
yet.
Right, Rode mics.
Rode mics.
Anyways, so we had this VHS camcorder that my parents bought and really never used for anything. So we decided just to start filming stupid stuff. We were doing pranks on ourselves and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So then we were transitioning into high school, and from there, like I would show like some of my theater teachers, because I was in theater tech in high school as an elective, and he was like, hey, have you ever thought about, instead of doing one full take of what's going on and following the actors, how about you cut and do shots and do takes and stuff like that? So we we eventually started finding a way to port the videos onto a computer. But before that, there was this one magical moment when it was my brother and I had an MP3 player at the time, like this Dell MP3 player, and we wanted to add music to a video. So we had the RCA camcorder, which has a VHS player in it. And we sent the video signal out to another VHS player, and then we sent an audio signal from the MP3 player. So we essentially pressed record on a brand new tape on the VHS player, press record on the VCR on the camcorder, and play on the MP3 player. So we were sending a video signal from this side and an audio signal from this side, and we combined the two. And then it just blew our minds. And we're like, whoa, we were able to add music to a video.
Yeah.
So then we started investing. We asked our parents to buy us a capture card so we could send the files over to the computer, and then we started editing from there. And in high school, I took a media tech course for 2 years. My junior and senior years, I would be bused to another school where we learned, Final Cut editing and, different kind of camera techniques.
Yeah.
And then college, I studied it too. And then the whole time I was in college for 4 years, I was also working with the school's it's the IT department, but I worked for the video services department.
Video service, yeah.
So for 4 years, if I was at school for 4 years, in college from 8 to 5 every day pretty much. And if I wasn't in class, I was working.
Yeah.
I had people critiquing my work, both in the classroom and in work. And at work, they were a little more honest. They would tell me if something sucked.
Yeah.
So I really got to learn that kind of stuff. And from there, I started getting in with the people making short films on campus, and I also got in with the people in my local area who were doing weddings.
Yeah.
So I was learning, kind of the wedding techniques on how to, capture a day and document a day.
Mm-hmm.
I was learning kind of more like news and, ENG kind of, capture from my work. And in class, I was studying film, and then I was hanging out with the kids who were doing short films. Okay. So I basically, from, 8th grade up until, end of college.
You just video.
Yeah.
Wow.
Photo. I bought a photo camera to do video at the time because the cameras were starting to do better video.
Yeah.
But I didn't really start taking photography seriously until maybe about 3 years ago, and then I didn't start actually taking portrait photography seriously until about 2 years ago. And turning it into a business.
So what was your first camera that you had? Your first, I guess, DSLR?
Yeah.
What was it?
It was a Canon 70.
70.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in the studio right now somewhere in storage.
Okay.
But and it still works. Still takes photos. Could still probably take a really good portrait shot with it.
Yeah.
Nobody would be able to tell the difference if it was printed on an 8x10. So.
And what do you use now?
I have a couple cameras. For photo, I use a Canon 1DX Mark II.
Mm-hmm.
And for video, I have a C300 Mark II, and I have my old C100. So that's actually what's shooting this entire thing right now. Yeah.
Did you, because I remember like doing all those short films, which here's the thing. When I was at Pan Am, that was where we went to school. Now it's UTRGV, which whatever. I never got involved really with the short films like I should have, even though that's all I'm doing now is TV and film work. And I wish I did, because there was one project you did that I loved, and it was the Killer Clowns short. And I will brag about it, and if I can, I'll post it, down in the bottom. It's my favorite thing.
It's a college film, everybody.
It's a college film.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's educational purposes, so don't be jerks. And so when you decided to do shorts, like what motivates you to do a short? Because you're pretty willing to help anybody out, and that's what's really what we love about you, is that you're very kind, you're open-hearted, you got a big heart, and you want to help as many people as you can. But what motivates you for a short? Like, what are you looking for in a short? Like, if someone hands you a script, like, hey man, you know what, like everybody has a script here. Right. Like everyone's like, I've been working on a web series, or I've been working on a short. What are some of the first things that you ask yourself, and then kind of like ask the person presenting the project to you? Because I'm sure at this point you've been here for how long now in New York?
It's going to be 4 years.
4
this
years.
Month, yeah.
So you've already gotten to work with a lot of people. You've already started freelancing. So you already started getting paid a little bit to do this stuff. But like, what are some of your I guess reservations, or like things that will encourage you to work on the project?
Right. I mean, I think it's pretty simple. I mean, I usually don't think about it as much, I guess, until someone asks me about it. But it's if I'm reading the script, can I kind of easily like start going into that fantasy world where I start picturing it and thinking about all the shots that I could get? That's if I'm shooting it, right? Which most of the time, I guess that's why people approach me. But if I'm shooting it, if I can kind of just go off as I'm reading the script and really get excited about, this shot would be cool here. This would be a cool kind of way to shoot this and kind of approach it. And two, really, it's really just two reasons. And two is when I talk to whoever's handing me the script, if I can really see that they're passionate about it or excited about it, because once you have that, then I guess those two are essentially all we need. If it's most of the time when I'm working with a writer, with these smaller shorts and stuff, they're probably going to be, one of the directors, or going to have a bigger role, on set when we're actually shooting these things. So if I can get excited about shooting it, and I know they're excited about the project in general, that's going to lead to some decent collaboration with both of us, just working like, this would be cool and this would be awesome. Yeah. And that's really my main criteria. And like second, it's usually just third, if there has to be one, is this possible to do on, usually like a micro budget?
That's what I was going to ask next, because it's like budget's always an issue, because like here, we'll talk about this in another video. I'll put it in one of my vlogs, but we attempted a web series.
Yes.
And it was my first time ever directing anything, and it's called the Kingsland Chronicles. And I learned a lot. And first thing was like budgeting, not just financial budgeting, but time, budgeting. We try to shoot like 50 pages in like 4 days, which is crazy. And special effects were kind of needed. And it was the Lost Project, which, like I said, I'll talk about later. I learned a lot from that. But like for you, like when there is someone that comes up to you and says, because I'm only asking this because I know like there's people everywhere thinking about, you know what, I want to create a project. This is it's like, let's just get a camera and start shooting things. Like what is your advice for people wanting to approach a project? Do you say like, hey, swing for the fences at first, or shoot something simple like a basic scene before you start tackling a full web series or a 20-minute short? What do you recommend?
I guess I would probably recommend starting off definitely smaller, but I wouldn't say like you have to limit yourself to just doing like a shooting exercise. I think there's people that I've seen in my past who weren't really trained in any sort of way and go and produce a feature, and they do it. I mean, it sucked, but they did it. Yeah. So like it's just one of those things too, where it's like anything else. I think any other skill, it's like if you practice, you're going to get better at it. But if you go for it, I mean, sometimes I get in my own head and I don't end up producing something, and then the person next to me ends up doing it, and I, granted, don't think it's the best thing ever, but they did it and I didn't do anything. Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's a balance thing, and I feel like, I wouldn't just say just go for it, but I would say I wouldn't advise against not just doing it if you're passionate about it, or you really want to get it off the ground, or if you're saying, hey, if you understand this is my first project, might not be great, but let me try it anyways, then for sure. That's a different approach than being like, check out this film I did, it's awesome, and
or dogging on someone else's project because they did that. But it's like, still though, I mean, I think we're at a point in time where there's kind of no excuse for like poorly filmed, shorts. I mean, not poorly filmed as in like technique wise, but like you can get a good look off of an iPhone now, right? And so now it's kind of like you have YouTube videos, you have probably people that know a little bit of that. Like, what advice would you give a new filmmaker? Like, hey, I want to shoot something. Where do I begin? Would you say go? You know what? You can shoot on an iPhone. Here's what you need: is like a little clip and a tripod. Go and do that, or think about investing in a DSLR or borrow one.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to. I mean, I would say get the best thing you can get, but if the best thing you can get is a phone, then there's definitely a way to approach filming with a phone. I mean, there's companies who've done there's movies that have been shot on iPhones that look great. Granted, they put a million things around the phone, but it's possible. I mean, you can get a tripod, you can, get lenses for your phone. Yeah. You can put a little bit of an investment in there and get the best image you can out of your phone. But I definitely get what you can. If you have a friend that has a DSLR or a friend that has a small cinema camera, which are more common these days, ask them if you can borrow it. You can trade favors for it. I mean, when I was in college, and this might go back to what you were talking about earlier as to why I help people, was I found, I wouldn't say necessarily a community, but I found a couple people, and I don't know if you know the guys from Cinematographer. Yeah. So there's Bert Guerra and Isaac Guerra, and they're from Callan, Texas. But they always opened their doors. And Bert he had cameras when I never had cameras. He had lenses when I didn't have lenses. There was a couple people I worked weddings with, Oscar and Jerry, and this other guy Mike Sandoval, and all these guys, all these people. When I needed something and I didn't own it, I would reach out to them and ask them if I could borrow a lens, if I could borrow a tripod that I didn't have, or borrow a slider or something. And they were always willing to help out. So I think that really helped me out. And it's kind of like I just want to return the cycle. So when someone comes up to me with help, asking for help, I kind of want to try to be able to help them, talk to them about it, give advice, because that was what helped me out back where I'm from. Yeah. And
So building a good community.
yeah,
And not being a jerk.
exactly.
That's really like as simple as that, because it seems like the equipment you were borrowing is not cheap either.
No.
So
They
like
were trusting
it's
me
like
with
they can
thousands of
trust
dollars.
you with
Yeah.
that. So just not being a jerk is always the biggest thing.
Yeah. Don't be a cocky know-it-all.
Ugh. How many people do you run into that here? Not as many.
I'm a little introverted, so
Yeah.
not as many as there are out here.
Yeah.
But there's even some in this building that we hear through the walls sometimes.
Yeah. A bunch of know-it-alls.
A bunch of douches.
Oh,
Anyways.
well, you're in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
No
Well,
offense to Brooklyn, but come on, guys, step it up.
No. These are office guys, office douches, bros,
Oh, really?
bro. Anyways.
That's how it is in the acting world too. Like there's just some people that will be at auditions and they just start talking about how awesome they are, or the schools they go to, and it's kind of like, dude, we're getting ready to go in for an audition. Like, shut up. You know, it's like no one cares.
I'm learning my slides.
Yeah, I'm nervous here. I forget my lines like crazy. So you've been here for 4 years, right?
Yeah, this month.
So you've been working pretty consistently. You started in a store, you started branching out, and now you're fully freelance.
Yeah.
And you're doing pretty well, I would say. You're consistently working.
I'm paying my rent.
Well, yeah, you
That's about
are.
it.
And but I mean, you have a really good reputation here. And what advice could you give to young, filmmakers who want to come up to New York or LA? Like, what advice would you give to them?
I mean, do it. I think there's a lot of opportunity here. There's a lot of opportunity that I still haven't seen, and I've seen quite a bit, and there's still a lot more in these places.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I mean, I think at some point it was just, I honestly feel that the universe, or whatever you want to call it, will help you out if you're helping yourself out.
Yeah.
I remember a while back, right before I actually quit Adorama, I had a talk with you. We were talking about setting goals.
Yeah.
You were talking about how you write down all your goals for the week, the month,
Yeah.
the year, and
Absolutely.
I was like, well, I'm going to simplify that, and I'm just going to make my goals for the year.
Mm-hmm.
And you did say at one point, there's going to be a crossroad, because I had just gotten a promotion at work. I was making more money.
Yeah.
I was technically working less, making more, which is kind of the idea, right, when you want to move. But I still wasn't happy working the 9 to 5.
It was almost an
whatever.
ideal situation from what I remember. Like,
Right.
Any other person would feel like comfortable
Yeah.
because you were doing all right financially and you weren't working as much.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to what do they say? You either shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's exactly what was happening.
Yeah.
But I still wasn't I still didn't want to get comfortable. I didn't want to stay there. So you told me at some point, because I was starting to work with a group of people out here, I was starting to get more work, and you said at one point there's going to be a crossroad where you either stay where you are and you stay comfortable, or you run somewhere where it was kind of scary. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're talking about, and I didn't know it was going to come the month after. I think this was in March of 2016 or 2017 actually. And then in April, something came up, and I said, you know what, I'm quitting my job. And I gave my notice, and I started freelancing. And it was, so I guess some of the advice that I would give to people is kind of what you gave to me, and it is put work into it, but at the same time, there is going to be a point where you have to make a choice. It may not be an easy choice. It might be a kind of scary choice, because I was letting go, financially, a stable job for a not so financial stable life. So
Well, it was uncertain because you were freelancing.
Yeah.
So it's always the hard part. But then again, it goes back to what you learned back in the Valley, the Rio Grande Valley, where you don't be a dick, and stuff will happen for you. And that's what happened here. You ended up working with some really cool people, and then more opportunity came from this relationship, and then this relationship, then this relationship, and now you have a cool little studio.
Yeah.
You got 2 Rode mics.
We got 2 Rode mics.
2 Rode mics.
3 Canon cameras.
Canon cameras.
Canon shot
Cameras.
And
you seem to be doing well, and it's because you took those chances.
Yeah, no, definitely. And there's been some ups and downs, but definitely I don't regret much of anything. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad I came out here when I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're glad you came out here.
Yeah.
You had a lot of fun. What is a dream thing, like a dream project you wish you could do?
Right now, actually, I kind of want to start working. I'd like to move into commercial cinematography. So working with larger companies, making ads. I feel like the path that I want to take is Right now we're doing short films, music videos. I want to move into the commercial world. And then after that, I want to start, doing maybe some features and stuff like that later on in my career. Yeah. But definitely feel like doing some commercial cinematography.
Stuff is what you wanna do now.
It is where I'm leaning towards. So, that's the next goal.
Yeah. And what are you working on right now?
Right now, I have a couple of projects coming up, working with a couple of companies to produce content. I might be going to Iceland. It was supposed to be the end of this month. I think it's moving over to next month. We got some projects with, a couple of photographers, some larger companies. I don't know how much I can say right now. Nothing crazy, but it's a stepping stone for sure. Companies that I like, companies that I appreciate. So it's kind of cool being able to work with other creatives, other photographers, other cinematographers to start creating content for some of these larger companies.
Yeah. Okay. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. And so if someone is interested in taking some portraits with you, and they mention my name, that they know me, would they get some kind of deal or anything?
Yeah, they pay 20% more. So
it's quality.
Yeah. It's quality. No, definitely. You can refer people and I can give them my friends and family discount. Which is actually, it's around, right now it's around 25%. So I won't date this video by saying how much I'm charging, but it is about a quarter off.
About $10,000.
Yeah, about 10 grand. Yeah. Straight up. Yeah.
It's cheap. You can get a bunch of those. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, dude.
This was fun.
Yeah.
We'll probably be talking again soon because we're going to probably need to talk about the Kingsland Chronicles.
Yeah.
And another day after a few drinks. I don't even drink. So.
I do.
This is fun.
Yeah.
This is like the nicest setup I've had.
No, it's this is the first time we've done this setup. So I'm playing with some lighting. I'm playing with the camera angles and this audio because I just picked up this mic today.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I'm going to go ahead and link all your stuff down below. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Follow Chuy on his Instagram. It's amazing. It's like really, really, it's amazing. What happened to the hand photos?
Yeah, it just, every time I posted one, I'd lose a couple of followers. So I was like, I guess the world doesn't want this. And plus it was I occasionally wouldn't post on social because the next photo had to be a hand photo and I didn't have one. I didn't think one was interesting enough, so I'd have to wait until I took one. Yeah. And then sometimes I'd go 2 weeks without posting anything because I didn't have a worthy hand photo.
Yeah.
So I retired it for now.
Well, your photos are great right now, and you've been pumping out a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
I'm in a couple of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you probably got a lot of subs from that.
Yeah.
Followers?
Yeah. I think I got about 4,000. Yeah.
4,000.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Tab Nux. I don't know how to do this now. There's equipment and stuff.
Yeah, it's weird. I will figure it out.
Yeah. Well, thank you for watching. Hit subscribe and share it with all your friends. Thank you, Chuy.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, man. Bye.